Welcome to another edition of the Daily Night. I am Brian Smith, your host, and I'm also the publisher on Inside the Nights at Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. I'm currently in Pensacola, getting ready to do some scouting on some top prospects here in the Panhandle, as well as Alabama and Georgia. But before that, I kind of wanted to go over some things that I've seen in the last few weeks scouting football, in particular this past Friday's game, Apopka in Seminole. There are three players just on a Seminoles team that are going to be playing for UCF beginning this next year. And all three of them, getting to see them live is different, especially seeing them play a team like Apopka, who has a plethora of good athletes across the board. So I just put up an article about Demari Henderson. He's the safety that's committed to UCF. His brother, Jakari, is a corner. And then there's Kameron Moore, the linebacker. All three, again, going to UCF in the class of 2022. First off, let's get a couple of things straight. Demari, safety. Jakari, corner. That's how they play. That's what they've always done. They've made that very clear to me and everybody else that's interviewed them. That's what they want to do once they go to UCF. Kameron plays linebacker, but he's a hybrid player, in my opinion, because of his intellect. He understands where everybody's supposed to be. This is not your normal linebacker. Most guys do not do that. So all three of them have unique skills, but it's not just physical. That's very important to note. As I highlighted in the article today about Demari playing safety, he's a guy that just kind of finds the football. Athletically, he's off the charts, but if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter. He finds the football, whether it's in run support, whether it's blowing up a screen, whether it's an opportunity to pick up a fumble and score, whatever it may be. The pigskin finds him and vice versa. He is a very unique player. I suggest you read the article. It's very long. It's very detailed. It talks about his attributes on the basketball court as well as on the gridiron. There's a reason I picked the basketball court, and there's some highlights in there that you need to see. His basketball highlights are ridiculous, and his brother the same way. So with that, I'm just going to go through each of these three guys. It's kind of a quick overview of what they can do. I'm going to have a question for everybody headed into segment 2 and then wrap up. It'll be about 10 minutes all together here. Number one, Demari. Since I focused on him today in the review on Inside the Nights, here's what you need to know. 6'1", 163 pounds, give or take. He's a kid that is extremely long at the hip. He looks like a player that you would want at corner or safety, and that's basically what he is. He could play either one. His choice is just safety. That's what he's always played, as noted above. Very good striker. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but there was a play against Apopka, inside run, running back, broke through into the second level, and he didn't hesitate. Downhill, got low, coiled, shot into the ball carrier, form tackle. Most safeties don't do that, especially ones with his speed and athleticism. They try to wrap him and throw him off to the side or whatever. He went right through. This is a very good sign. Most guys don't do that. I don't care if they're a D1 kid. I don't care if they're going to Miami, USC, Texas, Florida State. Doesn't matter. They don't do that at the high school level very often, and it's a mentality. Either you want to be that kind of physical player or you do not. Very good sign. Number two, just to note it, absolutely off the charts athleticism. Laterally, backpedal, his ability to backpedal, then put his foot in the ground and immediately go forward. And then finally, his ability to catch the football. In this game, he had a 79-yard touchdown. He also had the opportunity to be around the ball several times. He just understands where to be. He could play on either side of the football. I mean, he could certainly play receiver if he wanted to at UCF, but there's no reason if you're already accustomed to playing corner or playing safety or playing a hybrid position, whatever it is he wanted to do. He's a defensive-minded guy, and safety is his spot. With that in mind, a couple of notes. Number one, he's not going to be just a safety long-term. They'll use him in nickel and dime packages. And in my opinion, against a team like SMU, if you noticed when the Knights were in their base defense, it was still a dime package because they just spread the field and make you play horizontally. You can put him at linebacker and cover the running back or have him go out at the slot and do whatever against a unique team like that. Very few teams have those kinds of players at safety. He is really, really one of the few guys that you could do that with because most teams would just run at him. Again, he's physical, so he can get away with it, and he's going to gain 20 to 30 pounds while he's at UCF. So in a year or two, he's not going to be $163. He'll be $185, $190, something like that. So He's going to be able to play multiple roles. Finally, with him is just the ability to be a playmaker. He will get picks. I will be surprised if he doesn't have a pick or a fumble recovery or something his freshman year. That's just who he is. His brother, Jakari, corner. Just like his brother, Demari, he's always wanted to be a corner. So they just channel their energy in specific spots. And same physical skills. They are literally twins. Backpedal, drive on the ball, physical, all the above, can catch, good hand-eye coordination. The thing about him that I like is against teams that run screens, teams that like to run deep patterns, whatever it is, he can adjust. His natural length cannot be taught. 6'1" corners are very rare with the athleticism that Jakari has. Jakari's speed and his lateral ability are similar to that of a slot corner that's 5'9", 185, just kind of a solidly built guy that can move around. But he's 6'1", and he's very long at the hip. He's not a guy that's going to sit there and just play zone or whatever. He can play bump. He can play off man. He can be a zone coverage guy. He could be a cover 3 guy if he wanted and drive on the ball. Doesn't matter. He has all those attributes. Finally, about him, just to kind of put it in perspective, I expect him at some point in his career, and it just depends on how much film study he does and how quickly he develops physically, because, again, he's about 163 pounds like his brother. He has the ability to consistently take on the other team's best player in man coverage. If you look at teams like just historically over the last 20 years, let's say, Miami, LSU, Florida, Ohio State, Alabama, teams that run quote-unquote cover 1, which means man defense, that is a statement without words. It means my guy is better than your guy. We're not hiding anything. We're going to run up to the line of scrimmage. Our guy's going to play man coverage. Stop us. Give us a reason to not play man coverage. And then my linebackers are just going to suck in and play the run. That's why corners are so coveted. And when I mean corners, I mean top of the board. I can't remember if it's Rivals or 247, but one of them. I was at a practice recently with Seminole, and Eric Lodge, the head coach, looks over at me and he goes, I don't believe there are over 30 guys in the country better than these guys. They're both ranked like in the 30s or 40s or whatever. And we just laughed. I'm like, yeah, not so much. It's hilarious. The rankings are just garbage. But it's just part of it. Some guys get undervalued for whatever reason. I don't know. But the offer list says otherwise. I mean, they could have played anywhere they wanted. So both of them are really good. But in Demari's case, just as a prime example, corner is always a very, very difficult spot to find. And it's the first question I get whenever I talk to a college coach, whether it's an SEC guy, ACC guy, somebody from the Big, it does not matter. Where are the corners? He fits the bill. Demari's ability to play cover 1 is something that I expect Travis Williams and UCF to use fairly early. They're not exactly void of talent at corner right now, but at the same time, you got to bring them in every year. If you're really going to compete at the Power 5 level, and I mean 9-3 and above every year in terms of your record, you need NFL level corners. That is something that Jakari has. Demari could play it again if he wanted, but Jakari's the corner. I don't think that either one of them will sit the bench at all, by the way, just as kind of a general term. Special teams, punt block, the ability to return a punt, return a kickoff. They could do whatever you wanted, just kind of generically there. Jakari's ability to run and hit at corner are kind of unique. Again, the length is there. So man's going to be an option, cover 3, all the above. Finally, Kameron Moore. This is a guy that is one of my favorite players to study. Forget UCF for a second, just in general in Florida. And I've gotten to see him in practice a couple of times. And that matters for a guy like me more than a game because I get to listen to him. He's calling out instructions. Hey, you need to be over here. This is your assignment. No. You need to go over here. He's like a coach on the field. And I've talked about this multiple times before in regards to UCF. But again, if you do not have that ability to, film study, understanding your opponent, athleticism only takes you so far once you get to the college level. You will get your head stomped with schematics. Go ahead and play somebody like the Pirate at Mississippi State in their passing offense. If you make an error, They won't beat you with it once. They'll run it over and over and over and just bludgeon you. That's what a lot of guys do. SMU's passing attack, same deal. It's the same offense. You cannot make mistakes. It's up here. That's why having a guy like Kameron is so important, because not everybody is as astute as him at figuring out what's going on around. It can be as subtle as him walking up and tapping a guy. You see a defensive lineman move over when a linebacker tells him, hey, this is what you need to be doing. That's Kameron. You see a linebacker telling the other guy, hey, you've got the slot. That's Kameron. That's the first thing about him, and it's by far the most important. You must have a field general, especially with screens. You make one error with the screen today, those 3-by-1 formations, they put a tight end at the front, two guys back, one of them will catch the screen, and it's just like an outside toss sweep, really. There's just fewer players. One guy misses, it's 6, and it's super generic. That's why everybody runs it. They're just waiting for you to make an error. They'll take the 2nd and 6. They usually get 4 yards or something, no big deal. But if one guy's out of position, touchdown. Kameron Moore helps alleviate that problem because he'll put the right guys in the right places. And if it's complete disaster, he'll call timeout. He's not going to allow his team to get burned on something easy that can cost you a victory. As far as him physically, he needs to add weight. He's about 205. I expect him to be 220-ish, give or take, by next fall, maybe 215. He could play what I like to personally call the overhang position. It means that he's going to play over the slot. And sometimes in those 3-by-1 formations that teams run, he could be the guy there because he's savvy, he's physical, he's quick, he's athletic, all the above. But eventually he could play inside. Maybe he plays a little of both. With his mentality and his dedication to football, there's really no reason to even think about him not playing multiple roles. Why would he not? He's capable and he enjoys it. Final part about him, I'm curious to see what he prefers after he gets to UCF. And that's just something that members of the media like myself will have to ask him because college football is totally different. When you get punched in the mouth by a 6'5", 325-pound offensive guard, you may decide you like the overhang position better, and he's good at it. Or maybe he's really good at making that guy miss and then making a play in the backfield. That'll take care of itself. So Kameron Moore's ability to play the pass and the run give UCF options on where he can play. He just needs to gain some weight. Before I go into segment 2, this question is just subjective. I don't think there's really a right answer, but it's just something for those of you that either seen the articles or seen their huddle film, whatever, any of these 3, which player of the 3 will make the earliest impact? Because all of them are defensive players, which UCF needs help. They just need more depth. You got to have more guys on defense to rotate in and out against these spread offenses. That's across the board. Alabama, Texas, Notre Dame, USC, everybody gets smoked once in a while. I don't care how much talent you have. You just need it in droves, period. So which one plays the earliest? And that includes special teams. Kameron Moore is perfect for special teams, but so are the Twins. Which one plays earliest and why? Just something to think about. If you want, hit me up on Twitter. I can pull that up here in a second and put it across the bottom of the screen. But it's really unique when you have guys like that. So real quick, let me see if I can find that. I do not know what it is that's incredibly unique about them beyond the saying they just love football. I'm kind of putting that at the bottom. That's something I'm going to do a little bit later today or tomorrow. Florida Recruiting Report. It's an article I'm working on with all the change in college football with the coaching situation. Notre Dame, LSU, USC, Oklahoma, and of course, Billy Napier taking the Florida job. So that's why I have that one. That's my Twitter handle. That's my main one. And it's the broad one. I have one for UCF as well. But hit me up and let me know what you think of the opportunity to play early. Which one? Demari, he's the safety. Jakari, he's the corner. And then there's Kameron, the linebacker. All 3 of them from Sanford Seminole committed to UCF. Segment 2. Overall, I just want to make a general statement about this, and it's very short. UCF football is in a situation where they're elevating talent. That's clear. How long you can do that, add more players to the roster, also means your opportunity to win games goes up. Again, it's pretty straightforward. But guys like the 3 I just mentioned change the attitude of your program. Very much so. UCF needs to have the mentality that we're going to dictate to you. And it's not an easy situation to overcome because that can take years for the right defensive mentality. Last year, UCF was terrible at defense. They were dead last in the ability to get guys off the field in big play situations. They gave up the most 10-yard or more plays in college football in 2020, dead last. So this new staff had a long way to go. Adding these three from Seminole will help change that attitude because they won't accept it. And it's maybe the hardest thing that I've had to try to explain to people. Even doing this video is hard. Writing it's even harder. But you must have the mentality that the opponent cannot beat me. Part of it's God-given. Part of it is growing up in a certain area. This is a defensive mentality, and Sanford fits that. It's a very blue-collar area. We play football. We play physical. We play downhill. UCF needs as much of that as possible. Just wanted to make that statement. You just can't have enough of those kids. So it'll be infectious. It'll be something that through osmosis the other players see, and either they're going to adapt to it or they'll get passed up. And a lot of them probably end up in the portal. Kids that don't want to be around that kind of defensive mentality of the Henderson twins and Kameron Moore will not last. And that's good for the program. So that's something to think about. Once again, Inside the Knights, that's my site on Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. Make sure you like and subscribe. There's going to be quite a bit of recruiting stuff over the next few weeks. I'm going to do some general recruiting things for the state of Florida, covering all the teams. Some of it will be on this podcast, and some of it will just be on my YouTube channel. But at the bottom line, recruiting on the 15th, everybody signs pretty much. About 80% of the country will sign. And then UCF's also going to have some news in regards to transfers. There's a couple of kids in particular that I know they're looking at. The point is this: it's going to be a lot of information in about a 2-week period. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's get to it. Enjoy it, and I will see you soon.